Bedtime Stories with Grandpa. The Golden Goose. Once upon a time, there lived a woodcutter who had 3 sons. The 2 older boys were sharp as thistles and proud of it, but the youngest was a quiet lad. Whenever work was handed out, Jack was pushed to the back, and whenever praise was given, he was somehow forgotten. One spring morning, the eldest son shouldered father's best axe. Mother packed him a fluffy egg cake smelling of vanilla and cinnamon and a bottle of fresh raspberry juice, so he would feel neither hunger nor thirst. Deep in the greenwood, the boy met a tiny, wrinkled gray man whose eyes twinkled like dew and moss. "Good day, young master," the little fellow piped. "I am weak with hunger and dry as dust. Might I taste a corner of your cake and a sip of your juice?" "Out of the question," scoffed the eldest. "If I share with you, there'll be nothing left for me. Beg elsewhere." He strode off, lifted his axe, but suddenly felt too tired and dizzy to swing even once, and so he returned home, confused and embarrassed. The little gray man, hidden behind a fern, nodded gently. Disrespect has a way of returning like an echo. The next day, the second brother set out. He too carried a fine axe, a warm egg cake, and a flask of raspberry juice. The same gray man greeted him and begged a morsel. The second brother laughed. "Give away my lunch, not I." He walked on, swung at a maple, but missed so badly he tumbled into a muddy puddle and had to be helped home by 2 friendly farmers. At last, Jack tugged Father's sleeve. "Please, may I go to the forest?" Father grumbled. "Your brothers came back exhausted. You'll do no better." But Jack begged and begged until Father sighed. "Go then. Perhaps the forest will teach you something good." Mother, sighing too, gave him the plainest meal she could manage, a thin ash cake baked on the hearthstone and a bottle of sour apple juice. Jack whistled all the way to the forest. Soon the gray man appeared, leaning on a hazel staff. "Good day, lad. Might an old fellow share your food?" Jack's cheeks turned pink. "I have only poor ash cake and sour apple juice, but if you like, we can sit on this mossy log and dine together." They sat. Jack opened his bundle, and behold, the ash cake had changed into a golden egg cake lighter than clouds, and the sour juice had become sweet raspberry nectar. They ate, they laughed, they wiped crumbs from their chins, and the gray man said, "Because your heart is open, fortune shall open to you. Gently shake that ancient oak yonder, and beneath its roots you will find a wonder." Then, puff! He vanished like chimney smoke. Jack shook the oak 3 times gently. As it rustled, roots wriggling, there appeared a goose whose feathers shone bright as sunrise. Jack cradled the bird. It honked merrily and walked to a roadside inn to rest for the night. The innkeeper had 3 curious daughters. When they saw the goose, their eyes glittered. The eldest thought, "One quick touch and I'll have a golden feather for a brooch." She reached gently for the goose's wing and found her fingers softly stuck, as if glued by magic. The second sister tiptoed forward, thinking, perhaps she needs help. She lightly touched her sister's sleeve and softly stuck as well. The third sister giggled and quietly crept forward, whispering, "I'll help you both." But the moment she tapped her sister's shoulders, she too was gently stuck. Jack, sound asleep, noticed nothing. Next morning, Jack tucked the goose under his arm and set off whistling cheerfully. The three sisters, still gently connected, happily stumbled after him, giggling and wobbling along like beads on a friendly string. Across a meadow, they met the village parson. "Goodness gracious!" He chuckled kindly. He reached out to help the youngest girl and found himself stuck gently as well. The sexton came hurrying along, astonished to see the parson holding hands in such a funny way. He tapped the parson's sleeve gently and softly joined the joyful line. Two farm hands, then a cheerful peddler with jingling pans. Each tried to lend a helping hand, and each softly joined the delightful chain. Soon, 7 smiling people were trailing merrily after Jack and his bright goose. They reached a grand city whose king had a daughter so serious she had never laughed even once. The king had promised, "Whoever makes my daughter laugh shall marry her." Jack marched into the palace courtyard, Goose tucked happily under his arm. Just then, the princess looked out from her balcony and saw the parson gently stumble into the sexton. The peddler's pans jingle, and the 3 sisters giggling happily. The princess's lips began to twitch, then her eyes sparkled, and she burst into cheerful, bubbling laughter that filled the courtyard with joy. She laughed until happy tears shimmered softly on her cheeks. Jack bowed. If you're enjoying this story, give it a like and subscribe for more magical tales. Majesty, I have made your daughter laugh. But the king, hoping for a grander match, smiled slyly. First, bring me someone who can drink an entire cellar of juice in a single day. Jack hurried back to the forest, and on the stump of the oak sat a broad, friendly fellow tying his belt. "What troubles you?" asked Jack. "Oh, I'm so very thirsty," sighed the man. "A barrel of water disappears as quickly as a cupful to me, and a keg of juice is but one delicious sip." "I have just the job for you," laughed Jack. He brought the giant to the royal cellar. The thirsty man drank, gulp, 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 every last barrel of juice until by evening he smiled, wiped his lips politely, and said, "All done. Thank you kindly." Jack returned hopefully, but the king said, "One more task. Find someone who can eat a mountain of bread in one day." Jack hurried back to the forest, where he met a thin man tightening his belt with a sigh. "I've eaten oven after oven of bread," he said, "but I still feel hungry as ever." "Follow me," smiled Jack. At the palace stood a mountain of bread as tall as a castle tower. The thin man sat down and cheerfully munched from sunrise to sunset, crumbs flying merrily until not a single crumb remained. Jack approached the throne again. The king's crown slipped slightly as he said, "Very good, almost there. Now bring me a ship that can sail smoothly on land as easily as on water. Do this, and my daughter shall be yours." Jack hurried again to the forest, heart hopeful. Beside the oak stump waited the little gray man, smiling kindly. "You've shared your food and shown kindness," he said. "Here is my final gift." He tapped a silver acorn gently on the ground, and whoosh! There stood a gleaming ship with crystal sails and wheels of polished oak. It rolled softly across grass as easily as a duck gliding on a pond. And when it reached the riverbank, the wheels folded gently, and it floated without even a ripple. Jack proudly steered the magical ship straight to the palace gates. The king, amazed, finally smiled warmly and could think of no more tasks. With a joyful nod, he saw the smiling princess, asked her, and after she agreed, gave Jack her hand. The wedding lasted 3 delightful days, filled with cherry pies, cheerful fiddlers, and lanterns twinkling softly like fireflies. And when the old king peacefully stepped aside, Jack became a wise, happy king. He ruled gently with the princess by his side, the golden goose happily waddling through the royal gardens. And the little gray man, if you watch carefully at the forest edge, still tips his hat kindly to children who share their cake. And they all lived happily, generously, and joyfully ever after. And so, dear children, Jack's story shows us that kindness, sharing, and a good heart are more powerful than pride or strength. Even the smallest act of generosity, like offering a little food, can bring big, wonderful rewards. Jack didn't try to be the best. He just did what was right, and that made all the difference. So next time you have something to share or someone needs help, remember how Jack treated the little gray man. Who knows? A bit of kindness might bring a bit of magic your way too. Sleep well now and dream of golden feathers and gentle forests where good hearts always shine.